There's no way we're lucky enough to get Donkey Kong Bonanza and a brand new Nintendo Direct in the same week, right? That just seems like it would be too perfect, and Nintendo would be giving us too much at once, yet today's newest leak seems to indicate just that. Plus, is Nintendo actually going to change game keycards? This could be one of the biggest reversals for the generation, and I'm very excited by what I'm seeing. So what's going on, everybody? It's Zach from Switch Force. We've got a lot to discuss today, so we're jumping straight into it. Game keycards. This fascinates me, okay? Everybody knows that physical games would be the easiest, best thing for Nintendo to do. And yet, as the Switch 2 generation has started, the only easy physical game we have is Mario Kart World, and then a few small others, but everybody else is doing game keycards or game codes. Game codes, like, I don't even want to discuss those. Game key cards, it's better, but it's not what we want. And it seems like Nintendo has received that feedback as they're issuing a survey very early on in the Switch 2's life cycle, which I think is odd for Nintendo and shows that maybe they're actually willing to make a change. Nintendo of Japan sent out a game keycard specific survey asking 3 questions, and you guys can play along and answer these questions as if you got the survey, and let me know your responses in the comments. Prior to this survey, were you aware that there is a type of game card called game keycard among the different types of Nintendo Switch 2 physical releases? And you can pick A, I own game keycards, B, I don't own game keycards, but I'm aware of them, or C, I don't know what a game keycard is. So it's actually pretty funny because years ago, I got this case for my laptop from TomToc, and I had no idea who they were. But I love this case, and it's kept my laptop perfect through so many trips. So when I heard that TomToc was making Switch 2 cases, I had to jump on board. This is their Switch 2 case that is slight and light but mighty. It stores your games up here. It's got an ultra soft finish for your screen, and it keeps the thing protected with a super small form factor so you can slide it in any bag. And then if I'm taking a bigger trip and I need to bring the dock with me, I've got the TomToc Sling. This thing is a nice crossbody for airport travel. Has almost like a industrial kind of like hiking feel, which I really love. Some high quality zippers, and in here I've got my cords, I've got my dock, and I've got a nice protective pouch for the Switch itself. You can see in here, boom, it's got that same super soft finish to keep the screen pristine, and my system is ready to go. So make sure to click the link in the description down below to check out their new case and sling. Whether you're going on a big trip or a small trip, this is the case for your Nintendo Switch 2. The second question is, are you aware of these particular features about game keycards? Please tick everything that you know. And then it lists some features saying, A, you can start the game even without connecting to the internet after you download it. B, you're required to connect to the internet to download the game when you first insert the game keycard. C, in order to download the game data, you need free memory space on a micro SD Express or the internal storage. D, you can also download the game data on another system by inserting that game keycard. E, you are required to have the game keycard inserted in the system in order to start and play the game, or F, you don't know any of them. Now the third question is, after reading the explanations above, if there is a game keycard and a digital release for a game that you wish to buy, which will you choose? A, I will try to buy the game keycard as much as possible. B, if anything, I'd say I'll go with the game keycard. C, can't say which, not sure. D, if anything, I'd say I'll go with the digital version. E, I will try to buy the digital version as much as possible. Now, to me, this is very, very cool, and it shows Nintendo is trying to pull users more than just what we hear on YouTube and X and Blue Sky. Like, they want to know the true pulse of their larger Switch 2 audience, the populace that exists beyond just the people that talk about it online. Like, is game key cards, are they a problem? Is that something that people know about? Do they not know about it? Is it something that they're bothered by? And I think Nintendo actually could make a move here. It's not something that they would have to rework what they've already established. It's not something that they have to change about the Switch 2, about the hardware. It requires no update except Nintendo offering more options for game cards, for cartridges in terms of size, or B, requiring certain games and third parties to take advantage of actual physical cartridges versus the game keycard option. Now, I think it's interesting that they're asking what parts of the game keycard do you know about, right? Like every little detail. Do you know that you need inserted every time? Do you know that you can play it without connecting to the internet? Do you know that you need space on either the internal storage or memory card? And they're really trying to get down to the nitty gritty of like, what is the issue here and what is the solution, if any. I don't expect Nintendo to change this like next month. I think if there was a change, it probably would happen in 2026. Now that might sound like doom and gloom to you, but realistically, if Nintendo is going to make any switch up, everything for 2025 has probably been decided in terms of what third parties are using game key cards, what third parties are using game cartridges, what third parties are using codes. I don't think they'll make an adjustment anytime soon, but it's something that they could definitely change the future. And it gives me hope that they are reaching out, that they're asking users, that they're trying to acquire information, and that they're trying to figure out where this goes and what would be sort of, do they need to make a change? Are our fans going to be bothered for the entirety of the generation if they leave game key cards as is, or is it something that we'll get to know? And then the real question of like, do game key cards and digital sales, how do they interact? I feel like Nintendo would prefer you to buy things digitally because then you're going directly through their store. So maybe you don't want to pick that you would pick a digital game over a game key card, because that could be incentive for them to have game key cards. You can just go through their eShop, right? That might be what they want ultimately. So yeah, I mean, I guess answer these questions honestly. I think it's probably in our best interest, but maybe don't pick that you would buy things digitally, because I feel like ultimately, if greedy Nintendo is analyzing this survey, that's what they're going to want to see. Now, I feel greedy in saying that, hey, Donkey Kong Bonanza and Nintendo Direct in the same week. That seems both silly and not something Nintendo would do. Yet Beat 'em Ups, who is one of the sources originally for the July Direct that has been piggybacked now by many others like Nash Weedle, is saying that there's a Nintendo Direct coming next week. At the end of his podcast, his Nintendo podcast, he did say that he is expecting to recap the Nintendo Direct next week, which is crazy because next week is Donkey Kong Bonanza. Now, if you believe like Nash Weedle and a few others, it seems like they're more targeting the last week of July, and logically, that makes the most sense, but logically, Nintendo doesn't always follow logic. There is a weird world where Nintendo does decide to do a Direct and Donkey Kong Bonanza in the same week. And maybe they feel like because the Switch 2 is new, because the Switch 2 only has one major title from Nintendo themselves, that this is a must-buy game regardless. Maybe they feel like the numbers, the pre-orders, the impressions on previews, maybe they feel like everything is so high that it's A-okay. It's not going to cannibalize sales. Because why wouldn't you want to have a Direct in the same week as Donkey Kong Bonanza? Well, you're worried about it overlapping sales. You're worried about people being like, ooh, I could buy DK Bonanza this Thursday, or I could save my money for Metroid Prime 4, but perhaps they feel like they are impervious to that. Maybe they feel like they're immune, and people are going to buy Donkey Kong Bonanza regardless. In that case, heck yes, please. I don't think that Nintendo would have a Direct the following week, because that does step on the toes of another presentation. I guess ultimately, to me, releasing a game and a Direct in the same week is more plausible than two basic Directs in the same week. Considering that Pokemon Presents is kind of like its own Direct, I don't think they'll use that week. Like, not this coming week, but the following week. So, next week, or the last week of July, what are you betting on? I feel like Beat 'em Ups, I don't know why he would make something up, nor do I know why he'd be clout chasing, as he has plenty of users and viewers and all that already. Like, I mean, next week sounds great. I mean, let's put it in for next week. Let's pencil it in and we'll see what happens. This is really Beat 'em Up's first time as like a Nintendo leaker and not just a Nintendo news recapper. So like, let's see, is he able to deliver and become a leaker that we look towards now? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, but I guess Nintendo Direct this week and DK Bonanza as the banana on top. Can't be a cherry because this is a DK themed analogy here. Now, speaking of DK Bonanza, there's this information, which is 100% accurate, going around that DK Bonanza started as a Switch 1 game. And then there's the other part that I don't feel is accurate, that this handicaps, ruins, destroys, makes DK Bonanza laughable. So yes, DK Bonanza was initially planned for Switch 1. This has been revealed by the producer and director of the game, Kenta Motakuro and Kazuya Takahashi. It was being built on the Switch 1. It still used voxel technology and destruction, which is interesting. But once they learned about the Switch 2, they shifted development over to our new console in order to take advantage of the power that provided. And I don't think this is weird. I don't think this is bad. I don't think this is a negative in any way. I think it's probably what happens with a lot of projects where they're like, okay, hey, we're creating this new game on the current hardware. Oh, Nintendo is giving us the details and the specs for the new hardware. Let's move it over there. Oh, we're making this game for the PlayStation 5. Oh, they have the details and the specs and the release date for PlayStation 6. Let's move it over there. All that's really doing is upgrading the game and improving the game, and it wasn't a last-minute switch. If this was something that, oh gosh, DK Bonanza was supposed to be a Switch 1 title, and last minute the Switch 2 launched early, so they decided to make a Switch 2 edition, okay, then we can be suspicious and then we can worry a bit. But this is something that early in development they moved it, which just means that their target, their scope, what they were able to accomplish was just increased dramatically. I don't think that the idea itself is so inherently old school or Switch 1 coded that the upgrade to Switch 2 is meaningless. Like, the idea is a Donkey Kong 3D game. Truly, that could have worked as early as N64, and it did. So that's not the new thing. The interesting part is that they were planning the voxel-based destruction on Switch 1, which I guess goes to show how much Nintendo can take advantage of their past hardware. But I have to believe that the destruction would have nowhere near been to the level of impressiveness that it is in Donkey Kong Bonanza today if they were forced to stay on Switch 1. So I think this is kind of a nothing burger. I don't think anyone talking negatively about this game being moved to Switch 2 should be taken all too seriously. It's kind of fear-mongering to make the Switch 2 seem like a bad system and seem like it's not worth it, because the Switch 2 is killing it, and the Switch 2 is absolutely worth it, and DK Bonanza is probably poised to score in the 90s, maybe even mid-90s, and be another truly tentpole game for Nintendo in an era where they continue to just release tentpole game after tentpole game. So I'm not bothered in the slightest that DK Bonanza started as Switch 1. I bet there's a bunch of games that you've enjoyed thoroughly that started as a game on the previous system and then were able to move forward. If anything, it shows Nintendo cares, because they could have kept this a Switch 1 game and appealed to a far wider install base, 150 million players. They said no, it's a Switch 2 exclusive. That shows that there clearly were things that they wanted to do to push the medium, to push the title, and to provide for Switch 2 owners. So it's a win-win-win across the board. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Direct next week, are you in on it? DK Bonanza, can they both be on the same freaking 48-hour stretch? We'll have to wait and see. In the meantime, everybody, thanks so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. Love you lots. Switch Force out.